Hello, and thank you so much for taking the time out to listen. Today, I title this message, Pretending to be Authentic, Fake Truth Tellers. Pretending to be authentic, fake truth tellers. We will, of course, talk about the family as well as those that you might work with who pretend as if they keep it real. They pretend as if they're honest, that they're really going to be that tell-all book when you question them on troubling events, reasons as to why this one is not speaking to that one, uncovering secrets, lies, and cover-ups. These individuals who pretend to be authentic, to be your friend, to love on you, these individuals are fake. And it doesn't matter if they're your mother, father, sister, brother, cousin, auntie, uncle, grandmother, grandfather, adopted sister, adopted brother, spiritual mother, spiritual father. Any one of them can be guilty of this sort of thing. You may have picked up on it, but you just didn't know how to describe it. You had no words for it. I think she's pretending like she's telling everything. She's pretending as if she's honest. She's pretending as if she is really on our side, when a lot of times there are those individuals who are not on anyone's side. They just want to be left alone. But since you keep pressing for the truth and you want the truth, the fake one is going to give you just enough so that you think you're satisfied and you know something about the family and you really don't know too much of anything. Come on. Or you think you know something about how this workplace is run and you're still scratching your head trying to figure out, and what type of leadership is this? There are so many pretenders who are not giving you details. And even when directly asked, they are deceiving, they are lying, they are covering up, they're stealing information. You see, pretending. She wasn't real back in the day, and she's still not real. He wasn't real back in the day, and he's still not real. You see, this is where I have my issue with some young people, because you weren't around as long as some of us older folk. So you don't know a whole lot of things. You only know with whatever that one tells you. And a fake truth teller, a person who's pretending to be authentic, they're only going to tell you what they feel comfortable sharing with you. And they never direct you to the source. Notice that? They will name call, they will discredit, they will say that people are crazy and dumb and stupid and whatever else. And they do that so that you won't bother to ask questions. You won't come and sit down and talk. You won't bother to do too much. You have been trained, programmed to not care. You see? And I remember when that programming was done. I've been on this planet, like I said, 100 years. Hello. I remember when that programming was done a long time ago, when I didn't know any better, when I didn't have the education, when, I just was going around the mulberry bush, running around like a chicken with my head cut off. I didn't have enough sense to really delve deep as to why they were calling other people crazy, stupid, and dumb. I noticed, though, that there was a pattern, because every time there was someone in the family that finally raised up and was willing to sit down with us young people and talk to us about different relatives, how you don't need to be talking to her. You don't need to be going over there. And the same programming has happened with this younger generation. And they fall for things. I remember talking to one of my relatives. I said, I thought this generation was smarter. But they're They're so easy to be manipulated and controlled. It's sad that an abuser or user can show up and simply call people a bunch of names, and then, oh well, and they don't bother to ask questions. They don't bother to try to understand both sides. It's always, well, my mama, my daddy, my cousin, my auntie, my grandma, they told me. And I never sat down with some of these individuals that were considered the just messy people that were long in their graves before I got, on this planet. And so we just went on with whatever they told us. See, this is why I'm a strong encourager, and I do help people write their books. I'm a strong encourager of this is what needs to be done. We need to be able to interview all parties to write your book, okay? Not just your side, but we need to interview all parties, and this needs to be a fair compilation. If you are trying to be a truth teller, not seller, but truth teller, and if you claim to be authentic, then I should be able to interview someone beyond you. And they should be able to tell me various things about the family. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to compare information, and no, I'm not going to side, because this is my mother, my father, my sister, my brother. You see, I'm not going to do that. That is where my objective journalism comes into play. I'm just not going to be that individual that's going to side, because I know you guys have a close relationship, and I know that I don't want to ruffle anybody's feathers. See, some individuals are in pocket. So even if they wanted to be authentic, even if they wanted to be totally 100% honest and true about so many different subjects, they can't afford to, because there's money involved. And going back to what I said a while back about carrots and sticks, you see, when folk dangling carrots and when other folks got sticks, you know how to toe the line, you see, because there's a lot at stake. So this is what it sounds like, and not Prince's When Doves Cry, because ain't nobody crying over here. If anything, we are shouting victory that we're freeing so many people out of these manipulative systems that people have put them in, because they don't want them to talk. All right. So this is what it sounds like when you're towing the line, okay? Because many years ago, I was one of those that towed the line, right? Carrots and sticks. And so when you know that there is dramas and trouble and all that stuff out there, and mommy and daddy and grandparents and aunts and cousins and uncles and everybody else told you not to talk a certain way or act a certain way. This is how you are. This is what you do. Everyone is good. Everyone's fine. That was a great holiday event. I'm doing well. My kids are fine. My husband is good. I'm sorry that happened to you. I'll pray for you. I hope that you do better in your future endeavors. Oh, what about me? Oh, yeah, I'm a private person. Oh, I don't really discuss that. Yeah, I see that you don't mind telling a lot about what you got going on, but yeah, don't expect me to be that way. Uh-huh. Yes, I understand. Well, I've got a lot going on right now. Uh-huh. Yeah, so but I am so glad that we caught up and we talked. Yeah, this was great. Yeah, hopefully we can talk again. All right. Yeah, gotta go. You know how it is. Bye-bye. Now, if you all, Lord Jesus, and I know I trigger someone and I'm so sorry, but I know you all know that there's nothing authentic about that conversation. Is that even a relationship? It sounds more like a PR, right? PR stunt or something. Like, are you kidding me? Is that how you used to talk to some relatives? Because you'd be so scared. You'd be so scared that something was going to go back to this individual and that individual. And so that's why I could just flow like that. Because when you do it for so many years, because they told you that those people over there are the big bad wolf, that, hey, you can switch it on and you can switch it off. Right? Some of you all are that way with, dare we say it, certain individuals that you consider or that others have told you, or, well, that one is a motor mouth and that one's a gossip and whatever else. I love my motor mouths. I love my gossips. I love my, people who are the black sheep of the family. I love the unique and the weird and the different people. You know why? Because time and time again, they have proven to be authentic. While you, who, I am private and I don't like to talk about this. Why? What makes you so private? When we delve deep into people who say this sort of thing, we find out that, well, of course you would be. Of course you would be very private because your dad was involved in a whole lot of mess, right? That's one situation of many that I know about. So, of course, your dad was caught up in so many issues and you were forced to have to speak positively or else. Carrots and sticks now. Oh, we're so private. We just don't. And why are you so guarded and so fearful? And then once again, we delve deep and we realize, well, there was some molestation that took place in some of these families. There were individuals that claimed that babies belonged to this person when babies really belong to the brother. Okay? We found out that there were individuals who didn't want us to say too much of anything. That's why they didn't say too much of anything, especially if they know I have a platform like this, right? But I'm not giving any names, but I am telling you about the epidemic, the pandemic within the family, the plague, the issues, just as the Bible does. There are times where Jesus doesn't tell you anything about a name. He gives you a parable. Hello. And these are modern day parables. But at the end of the day, though, you come away with that example, right? Some of them, based on true stories and everything else. Some of them, that is the story. Like my books, those are the stories, okay? And so but the guarding that goes on, there's a time to guard. Yes, absolutely, because you don't want to be sued, so you guard a name, right? You guard, somebody's social security number. You guard, the private information, that a birth certificate or something along those lines. But we saw what we saw on the birth certificate. We saw what we saw on the medical record, and people told lies while pretending to be authentic about family history. That's just one of many, examples. But then you go to a workplace and there's a workplace history, if you will. And you were hired on to do A, B, C, D, E. And then you find out that there's some FGH that's impacting why you can't get A, B, C, D, E, and F done. But yet somebody is pretending to be that resource that can help you with everything. But maybe they don't, because they don't like the fact that you were hired because of the way you look, or you're the wrong gender, or you're the wrong sexuality, or you are a strong supporter of DEI, or they don't want you because you start talking about things that they don't agree with. Like one day you mentioned something about your faith. Okay? So now what appeared initially to be authentic, what appeared initially to be truthful and honest, now somebody is shifty, you see, in their eyes and in the way that they're talking with you, okay, or talking at you. You see, we see the fake. We see it. And when you tap on someone's shoulder and you say, I don't want to be a part of this, I don't want to continue to have these conversations with, I mean, this person is fearful. This person is a worrywart. This person is in pocket. This person is doubtful, not a positive type of individual to be around. Then there are people who, if that's their favorite person, they're painting you a certain way. Okay? Which, hey, we welcome all sorts of nasty, because at the end of the day, we know how God deals with nasty. You see, they know not what they say, they know not what they do. But there's a boomerang effect. You put that negativity and crazy and telling lies and trying to shut people down and telling them that they're not supposed to expose generational abuses, multi-generational abuses, and you're the type of person who you only want to hear the positive or what have you, then you go over there where those channels are, where that's all they spew is positivity. But at some point, my God is going to convict you and challenge you on the lies and living a lie and pretending as if everything is okay and all right when we know better. And they're very quick to shut you down and say that you're being unforgiving, or you're being, what are some of their favorite words? Those that want you just to shut the what up, because some of you all have been described as, and you've been told, whether to your face or via comments or wherever or whatever else. But no matter what they say, our God is going to keep moving on our spirits in so many different ways to get some things done, whether online, offline. I mean, we got family meetups, we got, and we got one-on-ones, and people are more forthcoming with information. So I just want to say hallelujah and praise be to the one true God, to those individuals who don't mind saying, here's what it really is all about. And this is why some individuals did not want to show up and didn't want to talk, because they're already in this mess, been in this mess for a long time, used and abused. And so they know that people like you may just be the one that wants to kick doors down, or they know that you're the kind of person that you might bring a whole team of people, or they might see law enforcement. So they're not going to say too much of anything. And I'm like, okay, but that's that issue that you need to get out of quick, fast, and in a hurry. I wrote Laboring to Love an Abusive Mate. I wrote Socially Sweet, Privately Cruel, Abusive Men. And you're never too old, never too old, never too old to get out of a situation. You see? First it was the granddaddy, then it was the daddy, then it's the husband. These women are being used and abused. Their monies are being taken from them. Their cars are being taken from them. Their 401ks are being taken from them. I mean, that's some of the things that the career women are dealing with right now. Then we got some of the men that they're being used and abused, and they don't want nobody to know about it. And so they continue to deal with things until one day they snap, and now it's a domestic violence case, when it didn't have to be that way. You were already being used and abused. If you had proof, and if you were willing to get a third party involved, then you would have come away with whatever you could have come away with, you see. But you let the anger fester because of all of that pretending and that fake stuff that was going on. There's many a woman and many a man, as well as they, that are in relationships that there is no love. There is no authenticity. What they're in it for is because they got bills that need to be paid. Can we just make it plain? Can we be simple about this? You see. And please like, subscribe, comment, share if you're down with what I'm saying. Okay? Because the truth of the matter is that there's so many people who, when we hit a nerve, right? Now that's not true. No, you're wrong. No, I don't see. This is what I don't like about Christians, and blah, 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 whatever else. When yes, we hit a nerve, and you don't want to deal with the fact that yes, you've been living that lie, that you're not authentic, that you don't keep it real, that you're always telling part of a story, but you never tell the full story. And when I gave my testimony years ago, let me tell you something. People came up against me about my testimony. You weren't the one that was behind doors, going through what I was going through in that abusive relationship. So how are you going to try to shut me up? You know why? Because that was a reflection on some of what people were going through at the time at which I was going through. And the reason why we keep circling back around to that time is because there are those individuals that are still not free out of those relationships. And there were a lot of them. I don't know what it was about the 90s, but it just seemed like people were always getting into some type of issue related to a partner that involved somebody throwing something, slapping somebody, kicking, hitting, and some of that stuff, sure, it slowed down as people got older, but it doesn't make them better people though. See, this is another misconception, is that because somebody is old and feeble and they're not, moving as fast as they once moved and all that, somehow we're supposed to just forgive and forget and it's okay and all right because we see wrinkles now. Are you kidding me? If anything, I'm turning it up. I'm saying, okay, so you think you're going to leave this world without being held accountable. And you think that you're going to continue to so-called punish people by not doing some things. You're going to keep saying that people are jealous, right? Oh, I have heard this one. And I laugh now because I've heard it for so many years. See, because we got close to the truth. We knew what they were doing to moms. We knew what they were doing to grandmoms. We knew what they were doing even as far back as, because I had to literally go back to Ancestry to see if this was a commonality, and it was. The fathers learned from the fathers and so on and so forth. And so when I got to interview many relatives, they were telling me things about how this business of this is why sometimes you hear me in the audio, I go back to the whole dangling the carrots and sticks, is because this is how they were parented. You had to do A, B, and C if you were going to get D, E, and F. And then not only that, they were using physical violence on them. And sometimes those that didn't get it as bad, they observed brothers and sisters go through it. And a lot of this primarily happened in the South. So this is generational. So the behaviors that I see go all the way back to, we even went as far back as slavery. And some of you all, you heard the audio messages about modern day slavery. We went as far back to slavery to see how these slave masters were able to manipulate and control grown men, mind you, and grown women to do what they were told, and how similar systems work when it comes to teams, sports teams, okay? Of course, not as harsh, right? Like using an object to beat you, but using various exercises and so forth to condition, if you will. But sometimes it can be brutally painful depending on what the sport is, okay? Now, these psychological tactics that are used on different individuals who are the pretenders, right? The ones who are fake, those who are covering up some things, those who say I'm private, and all these other things that have been done to them ever since childhood, okay? They teach their offspring, if they never get the healing, if they never if they never bother to know how to properly parent. And so the cycle continues. And now you get a younger person who one day is going to become pregnant, they're going to do the same thing. They'll claim, oh, I'll never do. When the programming, the brainwashing is so deep, you will. And we've already prophesied that not only will we see more and more of the same with many of these young people, but some of them, unfortunately, are going to cave under the pressure and take their own lives. Okay? That's the hard truth. Because it didn't get easier just because tech showed up. Because now you got to learn various things related to tech. And then when tech isn't there and doesn't work, or you don't have the money for, then you got to face the reality that's all around you. And y'all, and there's so many young people that can't face the reality all around them. That's why they're holding on to the phone like they're holding on to a fidget, like they're holding on to drugs and alcohol and food, comfort food, you see, or like a baby that's holding on to a pacifier. It's too much. It's too much truth. I didn't know that about my mother. I didn't know that about my dad. I didn't know that. Oh my gosh. And see, as I was learning some things, I was asking the Lord to cover me, to protect me, to keep my mind, because it's very troubling to learn things about family members and friends. It's very troubling to go to a workplace and find out how people use and abuse even at a workplace, because for some people, work was supposed to be your escape until people started wielding power and control over you and making it uncomfortable at your workplace. And now you're pretending. You're not authentic. You're fake. You're going into meetings and you're smiling like you love the job. You're even saying things like, I love my job and we know better. Who loves a job where every time you turn around, somebody is telling you, you got to run here, you got to do this. You can't take vacation right now. You can't take personal time. You're worried every time you take personal time. You're looking at your phone, hoping that nobody calls you. But then somebody calls you, you're stopping your personal life to pick up a phone. Lord Jesus. See, I'm coming where some people are. They don't want this. It's okay, though. It's all good, baby. Because I'll tell you that the God that we serve, he just wants you to be free. You might not like this messenger. That's okay. You might have all these issues because it's hard for me to listen to her because I'm still holding on to. That's you. That's you. All we want is for you to be free. Okay? Very basic, very elementary. And they go, even the brainwash will go, well, be free from what? Free from the lies. The lies that keep you going into that refrigerator late at night, getting something to eat. The lies that keep you from living your best life. The lies that keep you running over there, reporting to individuals like a soldier. Okay? Because see, sometimes it's so hard and it hurts so bad, the truth, that I don't want to have that conversation. I just want to leave everything just the way it is. And that one is a soul that's troubled. Is a soul that's troubled. And so, okay, you want to live the lie. We leave that one alone because they're very sensitive and nervous. You see, they talked about some of our elders that were so nervous and they're living that lie. Okay, of saying that they're strong when they're really not. They're weak and they're nervous and they're sensitive. And we came across these individuals. I just talked with a nonprofit group not that long ago, that case after case, domestic violence case after case, okay? And at the end of the day, we're seeing a pattern of people who are fearful, who are worried, okay? We've seen financial abuse. We've seen emotional abuse. We've seen spiritual abuse. We've seen our grandmothers. We've seen our grandfathers. We've seen our mothers and our fathers, our aunts and our uncles. We've seen them time and time again, because this was an epidemic that started in the South for some of our members of my family, and for some of you all, it could have started in some country somewhere, right? If we go further back, we find out, I got it even down to cities in Africa. We found out that some of this stuff started in, and I'm always mispronouncing this, but Benin and Togo, okay, over there in Nigeria. So, this is why I say, for some individuals, I say, please, you're so worried about your little family over there when we're talking about generations. We're talking about thousands and thousands of families over our lifetime, okay, that we've talked to, that we've listened to their stories. I've got comments after comments after comments, letters after letters. And I'm like, no, we've got so many stories that we pull from. And I go, this looks a lot like, yes, some of the relatives. But meanwhile, though, this one right here, though, she's trying to get some help. But what about you, though? You're not trying to get any help. You don't want any help. You want us, like I said, when I use that little example, to simply say that everything is wonderful and it's great, and we never had those issues. And then I heard somebody one day say something like, well, why did God use you? Why does God use any of us? But he does. We just all are used in various ways. And so this one was a tough one for some people because they know that they don't have that courage. They don't have that boldness. So God used you to be that one that serves people, okay, over there in the back room somewhere, because he knew what you could handle. But this is why I say that there are some individuals that they know they can't handle these channels. Soon as they see negative comments and stuff and they're being called all sorts of names, they're clapping back. They're saying all sorts of crazy stuff. And that's how I know, no, that's not real right there. That's not good. That's not a believer that should be with that type of platform. If you can't, stand the storm, you get out of it. There's nothing easy about this. I make it look easy because for years and years and years, I've done this. And before I got on this channel, I had my sparring partner, my sparring partner. And what I mean by that is just what I mean. You got that one that holds their hands up, right? And they're like, okay, you going to move to the right, okay? Then you going to move to the left, all right? You going to give them that uppercut. That type of thing, right? Okay, so then when it came to these verbal challenges over the years, when we were talking about spirituality and all of that, they were testing my authenticity back then. And then they would walk away and say, yeah, she's real. She's real. I mean, she done she done told me all this truth that I didn't even know about myself. You see. And that's all we want is for people to be at that place in life where you no longer fear and worry and stress and put on this false image and worrying about what the job thinks and worrying about what your kids think and worrying about what that man thinks who keeps cheating on his wife day in and day out. And then some people, because they call themselves trying to take their power back, they want to say they got open marriages. When boo, when you went down the aisle, you never wanted no open marriage, and you still don't. But you can't do anything with that man. Woo-hoo! But yet you got a platform talking about how wonderful how wonderful your relationship is. Many a celebrity have done this over the years. And then later, God, he exposed them using all sorts of people, places, and things. And we found out that when we were looking at these celebrities, we were like, oh, no, right? So-and-so broke up. Oh, we wanted happily ever after. You're not going to get happily ever after when you're in Hollywood weird. Come on. You're not going to get it. So once again, that gives you another example of how people are pretenders. They're fake. And then some individuals, they're not celebrities in your family, but a lot of people know them. A lot of people admire them. And then later on, that's when we go, oh my goodness, so-and-so, she was going through that. I didn't know all of that. So she did have a mind shift before she checked out of here. She did finally wake up. Well, hallelujah, you see? Because that's all we wanted was some individuals to wake up. And this is the secret that some individuals carry is that no, it wasn't peaches and cream and it wasn't lovely and beautiful like what the funeral director said and what the pastor said. It was actually quite troubling. And I have even went so far as to say, well, you know what? Some of these people that left, maybe we do need to open up some cases and have some things investigated. You see? Because I've had people come on my channel and say that they weren't comfortable with the way things came to an end. And so I say, well, you pray about that. And then you go and you talk to investigators and you have some cases open. Because see, when people got protection all around them, whether it's through their sororities, fraternities, whether it is through the, military affiliations, people know doctors, people know lawyers, people know a whole lot of people, you see. They know how to make things go away. They know how to make things look like. And then you never bothered to think about and you never wanted to talk about. And so, yeah. And then this is why these issues continue to happen within families. How many body counts does one family have to experience before somebody says, you know what, we really got to take a look at the patriarch. We really got to take a look at the matriarch. You see? And some of you all, you see a celebrity example of this. How about you start paying attention to what's going on in your neck of the woods and look at the generational history there? You see? Somebody is doing all of that nice stuff and pretending to love you because they know what they have said and what they have done. Now, this is a wisdom message today. This isn't a biblical study. This is to challenge your thought on modern day events Okay? To challenge your thought on your own behaviors as well as those around you. And some friends are not really friends. This is God warning some people right now. And some people within the family who claim to love you do not love you. This was a hard truth for me years ago when many people were still above ground. The Lord said, look at my word. And I looked. And for some of you all for reference, you can go to 1 Corinthians 13 on love. He said, now look around. What you're experiencing, what you are seeing. Right away, I said, no, that's not love. He said, exactly. He said, and this is why I had to meet you where you were before you self-destructed. Because there are those who think that you're going to self-destruct. And why would they think that? Because they know what they put upon you. My God, my God. And rather than talk to you and explain the type of programming that they put you under, that broke you down, they won't admit fault. Pride comes before a fall. They won't admit fault. I'm speaking to someone. You're right there with me. You understand perfectly. Too prideful, right? And once again, pride comes before a fall. And just because we don't see justice being served right now doesn't mean that justice isn't coming. My God, I've got to encourage someone because someone the other day encouraged me. My God, brought tears to my eyes. But she said, for the work that you are doing, my sister, she said that they will pay. They will pay for what they've said and what they've done in their attempt to discredit you and tarnish you over years. I mean, working them lips for years while they were talking about other people working lips. See, we know who the fake are. And let's talk about fake love, because fake love aligns with fake leadership, fake authenticity, fake relatives, okay? Fake every doggone thing. And how do you cure fake? You cure fake when you finally admit fault. My God, my God. When you finally let tears fall. When you finally muster up enough courage to say, I'm sorry for enabling. I'm sorry for being a part of the crew to discredit you. You got too much sense. I've always had plenty of sense. Plenty of sense. And that's all the more reason why they didn't want me out of their sights. This child is smart. I know. Look at how she moves. And that's why for some of you all, you don't want your secret out. So you keep smart people close to you. Until they wake up. Because see, you're not that smart if you're still being used and abused. So let's not get cocky and confident. And that's why my abuser many years ago didn't mind calling me stupid and dumb. You know why? Because I'm still standing there. And at some point, I had to go, yeah, honey, you're not that smart because you're still with him. And I know it's a convicting truth, but some of you all, I know you've got accolades, and I know people have entrusted you with so many responsibilities, and you do appear like you are very, very intelligent, right? When it comes to relationship. Very intelligent. Absolutely. Nobody can take that from you when it comes to the workplace and stuff. But they automatically assume that you're very intelligent when it comes to relationships. And we know better. Because anytime you've got to stay with someone and that person is verbally, emotionally, spiritually, financially, and sometimes in some of these cases sexually abusing you, let's just be honest. Let's just admit, not very smart. Okay? But it's okay though, because you're going to get your intelligence back. Come on now. You're going to get your smarts back when you wake up and then you get enough money saved up and you move like so many of my listeners did, because they got convicted on messages years ago when I went in on some women. Because I heard some men over the years was talking about you talking about us. I said, yeah, but this is an equal opportunity channel. We talk about women too. Matter of fact, there were times where I was harder on women than I was on the men. And that is simply put because I'm a woman, talking woman to woman. You know that if some people were above ground, there's no way they would support somebody being hit, slapped, shoved, kicked, somebody running gas tanks down to E and never putting no doggone money into it. Somebody up here tearing up cars and then expecting you to pay for them. My God, if some folks were still above ground, they would be like, oh no, sweetheart. You need to drain out bank accounts and you need to cut off credit cards and you need to start working on making sure that your good name is on document solely and no longer everybody else's name, my God. And ungrateful children should not be getting anything. I don't care how much generational wealth. But when you know that you've used and abused someone, yeah, and I'm a strong supporter of pay me for pain and suffering. And once again, jealousy has nothing to do with it. See, the ignorance. I was listening to someone and they were talking and I said right away, this is a person I can't have a conversation with but for so long. Because when you're that petty and you're going into some silly things about jealousy, why in the world are we going to be jealous over people being used and abused? No, the only thing that we want is for freedom, but we want monies for pain and suffering. Especially when there were witnesses. There were witnesses. And you can settle this thing without going to the court. It's very easy to do. But I'm telling you right now that there's some family members as well as friends and others that are going to experience their share of heartache and hardship because, once again, they don't want to admit fault. And they don't want to support victims or survivors or victors. And a lot of times it's because they're jealous that they didn't get free. My God. So if we're going to talk about people being jealous, how about this? Let's talk about some folks still under thumb, still heavily guarded. They're still living up in mansions. Ooh, come on. Many a celebrity are jealous of us. They're jealous of us because we are free to speak. We didn't sign contracts about we're not supposed to talk about this and we're not supposed to talk about that. We didn't sign those contracts. So they're hating on us because of the simple fact is that we've got these platforms that we can be free. We can be authentic. We don't have to be pretenders and fake and all of this. You see? And meanwhile, I love my fans. No, you don't. You love the money until we stop giving you money. And when we stop telling people about you and your projects and everything else. Okay, let's talk about Pretend to Love You in my book, Know Your Enemy, the Christian's Critic. If you haven't gotten this book that I spoke about live by now, I don't know what to tell you because there's freedom in this. Okay, there are people who have been so inspired by this book. And even though you're not giving me credit, but it's okay, though. It's all good. I know you've been inspired by this book and you've done a number of things, to move your crew along. But I mean, at least, put some money in somebody's hand. I'm good if little CashApp, little Venmo. I have my links. If we're going to be using the resources and stuff, I mean, very least, NichollMcGuire, author of Know Your Enemy, the Christian's Critic, like over on Amazon.com. Come on now, please. But anyway, there are those individuals who pretend to love you. This is my point that I make on page 172, and it's point 8. And I'm going to summarize it. I'm simply going to say that what I do is I challenge you. I challenge you to observe. Observe some critical people. Okay? Look at your past. Have you ever been in the presence of some critical people that would tell you something and then turn around and say, but I love you. I love you, babe. I love you, honey. I love you, sweetie. I love you. I love you, chubby cheeks. Whatever. But then, did I just see something in his pocket? Wait a minute. Who's that on that phone? Wait a minute. I heard that you was over at so-and-so's house. Some folks got trackers that people don't know about. You know the truth and you still holding on? Jesus help us. See, a long time ago, God moved on my spirit to do some things. And I didn't know back in those days that I was actually helping people over the years. over the years, just by my behavior, just by my strength at times. Okay? Wasn't always strong. And then the next thing you know, they're like, you know what? I remember years ago when she told me this, or I remember years ago when she did this and that. I'm going to see. I'm going to find out. And they found out the truth. But see, I took a step further. I got myself out of some things. It wasn't just about my testimony years ago. There were so many other challenges over the years. Everything from emotional challenges to financial challenges. But I didn't stay in those situations. My issue that I have with the fake, with the pretenders, with those who still want to act as if, oh no, I don't have these issues and don't want to address them, is the fact that you still in it. And you got children who are watching you. And I don't care how old they are. Because we got young adults. And they are definitely taking note. You got to come to a place where you say enough is enough. I'm not going to repeat the cycle. This looks a lot like. And then you go back and you think about some people who you saw when you were younger. And then you go back to that workplace. And you remember why people told you why they left. And then you'll see patterns even in that. But folks love money, see. God told me, he said, the reason why they'll continue to put up with Pharisees, even at the church, Lord Jesus, they'll continue to do this. Attend the lukewarm churches, support crooked televangelists who don't stand up to sin. They will continue to do this because they're not willing to give up their sins. Not everyone will be saved. I was like, wow. That's why he said, move on. We were praying and praying for the same people for so many years. And the Lord says, that is keeping you from praying for other people. So stop it. And it was because these names kept showing up on my lips. They were distracting me because then I would run into somebody and they would say, could you pray for me? Or I'd be in comments, right? And some of you all have left so many positive comments. Thank you so much. Such an encouragement. And I have personally liked those comments, like manually, old school style. Because I wanted to read. I wanted to read some of these. And then negative stuff, you know, we don't respond to that kind of thing. But I was like, wow. You know, clogging up the prayer line. Because I keep focusing on people who are telling me one thing but doing something else. Presenting themselves to be Christians when they're not sold out for God. Presenting themselves to be active churchgoers when they haven't been active in a long time, right? I mean, I've had my moments where, yes, totally 100% active in the church. And then there have been times where no. And there are those moments where God set me out. Just simply no, you're not going back to that lukewarm church. And recently relocated. So I'm getting my information via online. But there are times where no. I am dealing with individuals that they're behaving like they are authentic and real and genuine and behaving like they've got our best interests. And that they're saying that they love, but it's just words. I had to be honest with the Lord. I said, Lord, I'm going to be honest. Like some of these people, I don't know them. He says, I know them. So it's okay to say I love you. My God. It's okay to say I love you because you're saying I love you to their spirit, to who they are, a human being, a person just like yourself that just wants to hear, I love you. That's different. But his issue is with the fake who you don't have that type of love for no one. Not even for yourself. And so there's something in a smile. There's something in the comments. There's something in the way they move, the way they talk. It's not sitting right with me. I don't know what this is about this person. That's because they're a pretender. Okay? There are some things that we don't want to misconstrue, because I had to sit down longer with individuals. Yeah, there's a check in my spirit, but what is it? And then the Lord revealed it. And it didn't have nothing to do with being fake. The check in my spirit was the fact that the words that they were speaking resonated with me, and that there were some things that I needed to clean up in my own life. So that was conviction. That wasn't the demons. That wasn't somebody, you see. But you got to spend time with those individuals. Sometimes people got the spirit that reminds you of the church, though, but on a good day. And it's not the lukewarm church. It's that active church, And I've been to many of them. Praise God for those experiences that I had this year. And I even got to speak in front of a congregation. And yes, I did keep it real down there in Kennesaw, Georgia. Shout out to Sardis Baptist. And I'm like, this is real right here. There's a love that I'm feeling here, you know. And the Spirit of the Lord was just moving like never before in other churches as well. And I'm like, okay, well then that same feeling, there were people who were walking churches that I encountered during this relocation process. When they showed up at the yard sale, when they showed up at the garage sale, when I was at the airport, and when I was on the plane, and when I got off the plane, and then I could feel that the Airbnb that we stayed in, that there was a good presence, a good vibe about it. And then when the car showed up, because I had to have my car transported, you see, it was people offline that helped me out. And I appreciate the few of you all who were like, I'm going to sow a little seed. Appreciate it. But the people offline were the ones at that particular time that was able to help us through our storm. It was a family crisis that shook us up. And we were just like, oh my goodness, now all these people want us to pay and we can't pay. And now we're digging ourselves out of holes and we're set back years. And I was saying one while there, I said, Lord, there's some pretenders. They pretend to love. But right now, I need that love to have some dollars and cents to it. And the Lord spoke to me, and He said, you're not going to, at that particular time when I was going through the struggle, He said, you're not going online and telling them anything. And so I'm like, all right. Because I had heard in the church about, and this was for years, I've heard the same thing about ask and, seek and all of that. And I was down. I was sad. And I said, I don't know, Lord. I don't know. And then, of course, anger and everything else and, your short monies and all this. And I was like, why is it that people pretend? Because you start to find out who your friend is and who your foe is. And I said, why is it that people pretend that they love you? And it brought me all the way back. A lot of events, though. A lot of events. I talked about positive ones, but there were a lot of negative events, too, that brought me back to Know Your Enemy, the Christian's Critic. And said that just as you're going through this season, the Lord said, so, too, are individuals who will be going through a similar season in the near future. So you need to go back now and talk to them and tell them about these different things that are coming up. And so these most recent uploads have been prophetic. Even though some of it doesn't resonate with you now, you'll come back to the channel and go, well, it resonates with me now, you see. The followers of Satan, those that are the children of darkness, they're making it difficult. And so what they do is, though, they've got to woo you first. So they pretend that they're children of light. And this could happen at the home front, but this could happen at the local store or at the bank or at the grocery store, or this could happen at the workplace. But these events that lead up to someone's meltdown, the events that lead up to someone's health challenges, jobs lost, homes lost, cars lost, even people passing away, all of these things are nigh. And if you're not drawn near to the one true God, you will be deceived thinking that that child of darkness is a child of light, only for them to switch on you. And when the going gets tough, the tough get going, but that's not the tough. That's not the positive one. That's not the one that's coming into your life to help you. If anything, they're coming into your life to get your stuff for a bargain basement discount. My God, my God. You see? And so there were those individuals, and I was like, my God. You see? Because some people can sit from afar and go, I see all that stuff. My goodness. When you move in. And then a situation arises, and then they go, I think this is a good time. I might want to chit chat with some people. Let me see what I can get. And they see what you got when you open up the garage. They see what you got when you take out those tools. Never bothered to so much as offer to help you. But they're waiting like vultures for the time to come where they're going to clean up. They're going to clean up. That's why we don't worry about our enemies. We don't worry about the backsliders, the wayward in the faith, the people who talked all sorts of mess about us, who kept division and separation going. We don't worry about them because we know that justice is going to be served. And it's going to be a long suffering for many individuals because of what they did regarding God's people. They'll never say that that's what's happening to them, but God told me that that is what is going to happen to them. Okay. And so it's sad because it wasn't like we didn't warn people. The fact that some of you all, you're not right about some things, you're being warned. And it's loving, it's kind, it's considerate, it's respectful, but it's also convicting. You see. And I know for some individuals, they don't like this because it does hit home. It is close. It does tell your business. Okay. But for some people, I haven't seen you or talked to you in many, many years. And I haven't even talked to the individuals that know some of you all. Okay. Very well. And those individuals haven't told your business. God told your business over the years. And he told me to give him the credit. He said, I gave her the window to see your business. I mean, I got individuals who they never uploaded not a thing. But yet, how you know what's going on? Because God said it. And he said that you're in trouble and you need him like never before. And so I am so grateful and I am so humble to have listened to some of you all over the years, talked to some of you all, read some of your comments, and just knowing deep in my spirit that God is working with you right now and healing you from the things that you are lying and covering up and being secretive about and having a total line and, brokenhearted, crushed in spirit, all of these things. But he's drawn near to you. He just wants you to receive him. Because I know, I have people in my circle who they're not going to set foot in a church. That's where the abuse took place. And so they listen to the channel and they want to still be close to the Lord in spite of. But I will tell you that as you walk with him and listen to him long enough, you will eventually be moved to change your ways. And they will start to align with Scripture. But we are to be patient. The Lord told me this a long time ago. He said, be patient. And I was being patient until I was like, this is getting to be too much. And the Lord said, and that's why I raise up other people to help people out. Because I know it's getting to be too much. And for some of you all who are listening, who you're not fake. We know you're not fake. You've been trying to keep it real for years and years. And there are some things that God don't want you to talk about right now. So please, I don't want to see nothing in comments talk about, you talking about me stuff. I am not talking about you. If this message does not resonate with you, but it resonates with other people that trust me, It was meant for those other people. It wasn't meant for you because you're doing the best that you possibly can with what you got, right? And you're trying to be as authentic as you can be for now. I mean, some people, their lives are on the line. And so, they don't want to be saying but so much. And I get that too. And you got all sorts of assets and things. But my thing is that when the time comes, and it will come, to speak truth and be authentic, do it. Because at that point, God is giving you the green light. He is putting his angels all around you. And we just give you an air hug. And we say, keep fighting the good fight. Whether you are the person who's in the local rundown community, or you are the person who is on a hill living in a mansion, we support you. Thank you. Thank you for truth. Well, that is it. I thank you as always for taking time out to listen. You've been listening to YouTube, NM Enterprise 7. Feel free to like, subscribe, comment, share. And yes, there are links in the description box. And if you could support this channel, great. If you could put a little something in there for me, I'd appreciate it. Blessings to you.